Okay, here we go. Congratulations to the United States. Double gold, both on the women's and moments ago, Jack Hughes cementing it for the men's side as well. 2-1 is your final score. The Milan Games gold medal post-game show is presented and powered by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary with Bet365. Download the app today and use the promo code NATION. Must be 19 years or older. Please play responsibly alongside Tyler Yaremchuk. Carter Hutton will stop by. Johnny Lazarus will stop by as well. And you know what? It's a Pyrrhic sort of victory, I suppose, if you're Team Canada. You outshot USA, but it doesn't matter. The last shot was Jack Hughes, and that means USA is gold. And as I mentioned, Tyler, off the top, double gold. They sweep it, both the women's and the men's in ice hockey. Your thoughts from Edmonton?
I mean, you just can't write it up any better. You can't script better drama on both fronts, right? Like even on the women's side, like Canada pushing the U.S. the way they did, going to overtime. It's a double gold year. It's a double golden goal year for the Americans, like 2 3-on-3 overtime finishes. And I kind of said before the OT when we were on the live stream with Liam, I was like, you know what? I think each goalie's got one big one in them. Binnington made a big one. They maybe didn't get the look they wanted on Connor Hellebuck. Binnington didn't have a second one, and Jack Hughes off, I think if we're going to break down that golden goal, a little bit of blown coverage, and Hughes just made no mistake beating Binnington.
Best shot of his life, biggest goal of his life. The USA wins gold. Congratulations to them. Yeah, how do you break down that last goal, Tyler? I mean, it was looking like a great rush. You could feel the momentum and the wind at Connor McDavid's wings. He gets caught down low. It's USA back the other way, essentially a 3-on-1, and Jack Hughes makes no mistake.
Yeah, like in the moment, I was definitely getting shades of that 2010 golden goal, because if you remember, right before Crosby scored, he tried to take the U.S. on 1-on-3. So, like, I'm not going to sit here and criticize Connor McDavid for trying to take that rush up to the ice and albeit forcing it a little bit. But as it was going back the other way, I thought Nathan MacKinnon had a chance to, like, step up, make a very aggressive play, and he kind of just hesitated for too long, and then he went to tie up the guy instead of play for the puck. If he makes a bit more of an aggressive play, it goes back the other way, and who knows how we're talking about this game. Who knows what the bar here in Edmonton is like. It certainly wouldn't be this quiet, but yeah. I just felt like in that moment, MacKinnon made a bit too much of a timid read.
Canada is very quiet right now. I assure you, Tyler, it is not just Edmonton. It is all three coasts and a border as well. Canada is pretty silent here right now. The story of this game, though, was Connor Hellebuck. As much as Jack Hughes, may get his own postage stamp, as much as, Jack Hughes is going to be the star of every magazine, every podcast, every TV show, every late night TV show wants Jack Hughes on right now. This was a Hellebuck game, man. Connor Hellebuck, This was one where at the end of his career, when you talk about, well, does he have Hall of Fame credentials? They will go back to this game. And it isn't just the Devon Toews paddle save. That was elite and probably one of the greatest saves of all time. But I'll tell you, there are two players for me, Tyler. One, Connor Hellebuck, who was elite, and the other player who had ice water in his veins, shutting down Canada all game long, very quietly as he does, no headlines, Jacob Slavin. Very quietly, Jacob Slavin was a star in this game. Again, doesn't get headlines, not a flashy player. Hellebuck was elite, so was Jacob Slavin in this one. Who did you like on the U.S.?
I mean, first off, like, you have to absolutely start with Connor Hellebuck. Like, he was unbelievable. That save, I said a minute before, I was like, if Cale Makar scores another, you can put his face on the loonie. And I think that Hellebuck save, one hand back, you can put that thing on the $1 bill. Like, that's just, I do not think we are prisoners of the moment when you call that one of the greatest saves of all time, because it absolutely was. No. I thought Quinn Hughes had a really good game. I felt like his kind of, again, mobility, transition play, the few times that the U.S. was able to kind of get Canada hemmed into their own zone, it was with Quinn Hughes on the ice and him moving and walking that blue line. So I thought Hughes was excellent, and I thought Tage Thompson had an excellent game as well. He maybe didn't get a goal, but there were enough times where Tage Thompson was buzzing, and I was like, if someone's going to break this thing open and force a 2-on-1 back the other way, I thought it'd be Tage Thompson. So there were definitely some standout performers on that U.S. team, but Connor Hellebuck, like you said, we'd be lying if we're trying to get cute and say anyone had a bigger impact than Hellebuck. Like, no. Point blank, this was the Connor Hellebuck legacy game.
That's a great way to put it too. Let's go big panel. Johnny Lazarus joins us. Carter Hutton joins us here as well on the post game show. Johnny, we'll start with you. I'm surprised you're not smiling. First of all, I guess it must be really hard for you to blink right now, considering what just happened. You probably barely have enough loose skin. You're so excited and so happy. Your thoughts on this one here today?
I think you guys have said it perfectly. I'd be naive if I didn't say that Canada deserved that one. They were the better team, especially in the second half of the game. In overtime, the U.S. was better, though. I felt in Canada it got a little bit too individual. You could kind of sense that McDavid wanted to be the hero. McKinnon wanted to be the hero. They both kind of took it themselves on their own chances where, the first chance of overtime, Quinn Hughes makes a great drop pass to Boldy. Boldy back to Hughes. Binnington makes a great save. I don't know. It just felt like everyone for Canada, the individual skill wanted to take over late in that game. We knew they were better. They had the better team up front. But to your point, Connor Hellebuyck, for everyone, including me, who has always said he can't win the big one, finally wins the big one. And that is definitely the top story of the day.
Carter?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's a really good take on overtime, Johnny. It felt like they pressed it a little too much, where I think the United States was compact and they let them make an error, and then they capitalized on that too. And you look at the winning goal, it goes 5-hole, but it's kind of the live or die of Jordan Binnington, right? We've watched this all tournament. When there is an individual shot and he knows there's a shot coming, he's going to be aggressive. And the problem with that is when you're chasing depth and you're gaining your feet, you can't get down as quick as you normally would if your feet are set. And Jack Hughes, it's one of those shots where he just gets it off. It's fast. It goes in. It's tough. It's a tough pill to swallow. Like, I'm not going to not going to lie to you guys. I am absolutely gutted after that performance. Yeah. And, I think this is from the Canadian side. I think you're going to look back on moments of, the save by Hellebuyck, the empty net McKinnon had. These are points where I thought 5-on-5 play overall, Team Canada dominated this game. And I don't think we saw this going in that it was going to be this. I don't know if USA could match that speed. But, again, Connor Hellebuyck had his day in the sun, and that he was the biggest difference maker in this one.
There's one thing. Let me pick up on. I'm curious about a couple of things here. Macklin Celebrini had incredible looks right in front of the net. Like, for whatever reason, USA was giving Macklin Celebrini that shot, and I'm watching, and I'm like, there it is again. Why is USA giving Macklin that shot? And you look at all the times that Celebrini went one-on-one with Connor Hellebuyck as well, and you think about that breakaway. If you have a look at where he's shooting, that's the triangle, right? That goal that's made famous by Matt Zuccarello, that's the triangle shot right there. And I don't know that I've seen a goaltender get the pad down as quickly as Hellebuyck did on that triangle shot by Macklin Celebrini. Do you have Carter, you're the goalie of the panel. Do you have a quick thought on the sort of one-on-one game, Connor Hellebuyck staring down Macklin Celebrini as he got chance after chance after chance?
One thing I will say about Connor Hellebuyck and his performance today, and one thing about him traditionally, is he doesn't beat himself, right, Jeff? And I think that's the key there is if you are going to beat him, it's going to have to be something perfect. And I thought when they did start to generate chances where they were going to score is the fact that the puck would travel east-west and then would come back on a diagonal. So for him to travel east-west is trickier when that puck moves again. And again, they had so many chances just off his toe caps where they would shoot just outside his pad, and that's when chaos got created. But credit to him because it is a tough save. We see how many guys fall victim to that triangle shot. Jonathan Taves has abused me numerous times with that play on breakaways, and that is the one that you see. And again, for Connor Hellebuyck, it is just the factor of his poise and his demeanor during this game in waves where it felt like USA couldn't get the puck out of the zone. He was a huge, huge difference maker.
What do you think, Ty? We're just gushing about Hellebuyck some more. You want to add in? Want to throw another log on the fire?
I mean, yeah, it was unbelievable. I even think back to Canada on that 5-on-3. Matt Celebrini had a one-timer look. Nate McKinnon's one-timer. He shouldn't be taking that shot that early in a 5-on-3. But the Celebrini one I felt like was actually a good chance because Canada had some puck movement. But then you go and you watch that kind of down-low angle. Hellebuck's just all over it. Celebrini could have picked his spot perfectly all over it. There was a chance in the second period. McDavid kind of brings it behind, finds Makar perfectly. Ask Colorado Avalanche fans how many times Cale Makar's just perfectly picked that short side corner. He didn't even have a chance to do it because Hellebuyck was just covering the whole thing. That was about as perfect of a hockey game as a goaltender could play. And when Canada was pouring it on for long stretches, sure, they would maybe get quality looks. And I bet if you went back and watched that game and charted out where their chances were, it's oh, damn, that was probably 13, 14 grade A's. But so many of them didn't feel like grade A opportunities because Hellebuyck was just all over them.
That's
Yeah,
probably
it
where
was,
Canada missed Crosby the most, right? That 5-on-3.
Yep.
That's what I was thinking.
100% they did. 100% they did. I would even make the argument, even though they did get the puck off the opening draw right away with Nathan McKinnon, opening draw of overtime. Right there is where you missed Sidney Crosby as well.
Yeah.
A couple of things, so Jack Hughes ends up being the big hero. He's going to be the centerpiece of NHL.com and websites everywhere. But going into these tournaments, certainly with Four Nations last year, I know Quinn Hughes wasn't available, but all of the promotion, all the hype is around the Tkachuk brothers. But at the end of all of it, it's the Hughes boys. Yeah, you mentioned that, Quinn Hughes almost scores that goal and Jordan Binnington gets his glove on it, that it's Jack Hughes at the end. I know we place a lot of significance on how the Tkachuks play, but Johnny is the American here. Your thoughts on the Hughes family?
Yeah, it's funny. That was, I don't know if you saw my tweet, but I did the Bucci overtime challenge, and I picked Jack Hughes. Quinn had the one against Sweden, which helped USA get to the semifinal game. Jack has the one that ends it, and it's the skill that takes over. You needed a guy like Jack Hughes to step up against the Canada skill. You needed Quinn Hughes to step up against Sweden's skill. And while the Tkachuks help bring the emotion out in these games, it's the skill that takes over, and the guys who have the most talent in the world that take over. And Jack has that. He didn't necessarily get to use it in Four Nations. For whatever reasons, it didn't click. It didn't go for him. But in the Olympics, all tournament long, it's been there. It's been on display. Jack has had an incredible tournament when he got a lot of criticism coming in because of his injuries throughout the year, not deciding to play in the last 2 games before the Olympic break. And I think everyone, including myself, I was like, oh, man, bad luck on Jack not playing in these games for the Devils to be good for the Olympics. We all look like dummies now that Jack was healthy this entire time and is now the hero.
It's funny you mentioned that. I was talking to someone 2 days ago with an NHL team who said, like, over the last couple of weeks, like, this isn't exclusive to Jack Hughes. There were a lot of guys that were going to the Olympics that were going into business for themselves over the last couple of weeks. And I think that you can isolate certain points from certain teams on players that are going over there, making sure they're going over there, and they're not banged up at all. Tyler, I'm curious about your thoughts on that one too. The Hughes family. I think if I read correctly here, what Johnny is trying to say is the Hugheses can only play 3-on-3, but the Tkachuks play 5-on-5. Am I getting that right, Johnny?
I'm fine by saying that. I'm fine in that. That's fine.
I mean, but hey, that's how this turned. Like, again, it's not an insane outcome. If you would have told hockey fans, all of us sitting here before the tournament, like we all kind of said, it's going to be Canada-USA. If it would have been like, hey, Canada-USA in overtime, I think everyone would have been like, yeah, kind of checks out. Like, this tournament lived up to the hype and then some. The ending was exactly what you wanted it to be. I mean, I shouldn't phrase it that way, because I think every hockey fan before overtime would have said, give me 5-on-5 in this one. But that's high-end skill, right? Jack Hughes, Quinn Hughes, guys who, when they have just that touch more space, can do things that, quite frankly, not a lot of other players could do. And I, again, give them full credit for, like, Johnny, you talk about how they played a very team game in overtime. They were not timid at all in that team game either. Like, that first chance, it was like, felt like they practiced that exact play and ran through that scenario 100 times. It was just like drop pass, bing, bing, right back to him. Binnington makes a great save. Canada was just scrambly. It looked like Canada was unrehearsed, like they hadn't practiced 3-on-3, like those guys hadn't been on the ice together before. So, yeah, I mean, it came down to 3-on-3 and high-end skill. This is why we talk about filling your lineup with high-end skill.
Can I add one thing if I can here quick, Jeff?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Jump in.
Sorry, I was just going to add, like, the one thing that kind of pisses me off is, like, no one talks about the Crosby goal and being like, oh, man, if only it was 5-on-5. You know, like, that was a 4-on-4 goal.
4-on-4.
I know we're going to say that because this is 3-on-3, but in hindsight, it's like, this is part of international play. You know, like, it's
Johnny?
just...
Yeah, I agree.
Can I make a quick...
Johnny, though, that the ice was so lopsided for the 5-on-5 play. Like, Canada was the better team outside of the goalie performance, right? So I think the argument from a Canadian standpoint, and I'm not sour grapes, trust me. The best team wins is the team that scores more goals and finds a way to win. That's the way hockey works, and I understand that more than anybody, is the fact that, like, I think if you're a Canadian, which you'll hear the standpoint back, his 5-on-5 play, Canada was so good and so dominant. And then 100%. This is just hockey. We'd love to see best of 7 between these two teams. It was an unbelievable series. Coin flip game, and I think it's everything we expected. Not that I'm not here gut-wrenched and hurt and a lot of emotions that go into it, but what I think about is how many kids got to sit here today and watch this game like young kids did watching Sidney Crosby, and it just changes the landscape of hockey, and that's the best thing about international play.
Let me jump in one thing here.
American hero. Go ahead.
He absolutely is. I mean, Mike Ruggioni is one from 1980, and now you put Jack Hughes in that pantheon. Johnny, further to what you were saying about Jack Hughes, I don't think the Canadians are going to whine so much about 3-on-3 as much as they're going to whine about Jack Hughes playing the puck in the non-called too many men penalty by the bench. That's honestly, trust me, that's what it's going to come down. Carter, one thing that Kelly Rudy would always tell me when we worked together at CBC was you shouldn't have to apologize for having a good goaltender. Like, look at the shots on goal, and look, man, like it was a tilted rig, 45-28 for Canada. To me, that says Connor Hellebuck. And Kelly would always say, last time I checked, goalie's a part of your team. Like, their goalie just did their job. I know that 5-on-5, Canada may have been dominant in one regard, but then in another regard, they weren't, because Connor Hellebuck still is part of this team. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree. He's the X factor too. And I can think back now to working on this side of the scales, that when we started talking about four nations and prepping and who the goalies were this was the question mark, that United States had better goaltending, that Canada didn't have the goaltending of years past. And then, I think Bennington silenced a lot of critics, and those critics creep back in. And then you look at it now, Connor Hellebuck had a little bit more doubts coming into this tournament than he has previously in the Four Nations Cup and any other event that he's been in. And he answered the bell today. And this was his moment. And again, I think this is just the cap to his career, where whatever happens now, I think, Jeff, you led with that off the show, is I think if he never gets to that promised land of winning a Stanley Cup, this is it. Like, he has his moment, whether if he goes on to do more or not. This was his moment where he put the world on notice, and he was the best goalie that, and he was the biggest difference maker in this game.
I mentioned at the top Jacob Slavin as well. We'll just go sort of right down the line, and guys, feel free to jump in on all these topics. But who was the unsung guy for everybody here? For me, it was Jacob Slavin, who had ice water in his veins all game long. No panic threshold whatsoever. We should be used to Jacob Slavin playing like this. Very quietly, no headlines. He's not going on Kimmel. I thought Jacob Slavin right there, right after Connor Hellebuck, was sort of a real unsung hero. We'll go right down the line here, starting with you.
With me?
No, we're gonna start with Ty, but we can go with you, Johnny. Can you hear me, Ty?
Oh,
but we'll get Ty back on here in a second.
You go, Johnny.
Let's go right down the line. Who is your unsung guy, Johnny?
You know what? I thought Charlie McAvoy had a hell of a tournament, hell of a game. He makes that play on the doorstep behind Hellebuck. I think it may have been McKinnon. That's another scoring chance late in the game where McAvoy gets behind Hellebuck. Like, the amount of chances Canada had. I mean, Nathan McKinnon, I feel for him, man. Like, the amount of opportunities he missed in that game, like that wide open net again in the third period. And you knew he wanted to be the hero, right? Crosby has his goal. McDavid has his goal in Four Nations. McKinnon definitely wanted that to be his moment. But Charlie McAvoy came up huge in so many different ways in this tournament. That is pretty much unsung. Quinn Hughes got a lot of the shine offensively. McAvoy, the physical presence, blocking shots, PKing, doing all those little things. And while Slavin had a big game too, I think McAvoy was a guy who, went under the radar a little bit throughout the tournament. That was stellar. And we missed him last year in that Four Nations Championship as well.
Yeah, I think for my take is, obviously I agree. Like, the McKinnon and the skill of Canada was on display. And I think the speed of what we haven't seen before. But, on a difference of a playmaker, you have a 1-on-2 in the first period that ends up in the back of the net, and it gets them to overtime, right? That was really the only offense they created. So Matt Boldy with a world-class play against the top D pairing in Canada. And again, you can make the argument, a mistake by the D pairing, a save you need to make, but it's still a play that Matt Boldy makes on the biggest stage in the world, a guy that isn't a household name when you talk about Jack Eichel and Austin Matthews and all these players on United States that get a lot more credit. Matt Boldy is no surprise to us, right? Guys that follow the NHL like a fine-tooth comb. We understand how good Boldy is, but he just did it on the world stage, scoring a big goal. And I thought he was a big difference maker. And you look at overtime, 3-on-3, who's the first guy starting on that? Matt Boldy's out there, right? I think that was Matt his Boldy, big coming out party as well, to show the world how good he is.
Yeah, good pick.
Johnny, Bill Guerin got a lot of criticism for this roster construction. Somewhere Cole Caulfield is watching this game. Somewhere Jason Robertson is watching this game. Somewhere Lane Hudson is watching this game. What's going through their mind right now? And
Yeah,
there's some people who apologies to Bill Guerin.
Adam Fox too.
Fox.
I think about it. I think about him, and yeah, it's you know what, the penalty kill going perfect 100% throughout the tournament is. Yeah, I mean, what else can you say, right? You killed a 5-on-3 in the gold medal game against Team Canada. Like,
yeah,
you picked the right guys, I guess. But that's the team they built. They didn't pick a team that's gonna play more offense than Canada. You kind of knew that you were gonna have to defend. And yeah, you know what? I owe Chris Kelleher a text for sure. That's a guy I should be texting right now, saying congrats.
All
right. Yeah, I'm gonna text him right now while we're talking.
Huts, you got some obligations, but I want to let you know before you go. I want to get a final thought out of you. What next for Team Canada? Like, I don't know that this is a big enough loss for a summit or anything like that on either the men's or women's side. But what next for Team Canada?
I think it's status quo, Jeff. Like, you got to be totally honest with this. Like,
so do I.
It was a great performance. It was a great game. It was a great tournament. I think at times it was, playing from behind helped them, but they started on time today, and I think from the first period on, they played really, really well. I guess maybe you start to think about where does the goaltending depth come from? Who is the next guy? But you're one kid away from being the next big thing and having that goaltending. So I think it starts just, I don't know. I'm just so disappointed right now. I feel so gutted. I'm happy for you, Johnny. I'm happy for the United States. And I got a lot of good friends on that team, right? Like Jack Eichel, Tage Thompson. They mean a lot to me. They're good people. And, they deserve their day in the sun. It was well earned.
All right. Excellent stuff, Carter. You're released to your, I don't know, comfort pillow, comfort dog, box to, I don't know.
I'm on the rink, buddy. I'm on the rink with the next wave, the 2017
Oh, are you?
Boys. We're on the rink. So I'm headed to the rink.
Okay.
I coach a team.
Okay. So first 20 minutes, 3-on-3. Here's how you play 3-on-3. Here's what you do. All right. Huts, great job as well, pal. Thanks as always for stopping by. There is the great Carter Hutton, part of DFO Live, heard Monday to Friday, noon at our Daily Faceoff YouTube channel. The internet has not been Tyler's friend, but it is being kind now. He returns for this one. So we were talking about unsung players, and we're talking about, before you hop back on here, what's next, Tyler, do you think, for Team Canada? Carter Hutton essentially said nothing. Like, the program right now is fine. Like, I think the women's side of things are going to go through a transition period now, where the Carolyn Harveys and the Abby Murphys and the Layla Edwards really put their foot down and start to dominate. But what about on the men's side here? Anything you look at as sort of trouble spots for Team Canada? Or was it, lost in 3-on-3, was right there, had a bunch of chances, open nets, couldn't capitalize, and a 5-on-3?
Yeah, like I feel like I need to preface every take I have that's going to be like this with I know it's loser talk. Like, I'm well aware of that. But if they started this game again right now and you had to put $100 on it, you'd be putting your $100 on Team Canada. Like, I don't think, like you said, this is not a national summit level, blah, blah, blah. They went toe-to-toe with the other best hockey nation in the world, and they lost by one shot in overtime. Like, that's going to happen. They missed open nets. They had Connor Hellebuck making all-world saves. Like, I don't think if Connor Bedard's there, they win this hockey game. I don't think if Evan Bouchard or Matthew Schaefer are there, that they win this hockey game. But with that in mind, I think 4 years from now, Matt Schaefer is going to be a Cale Makar-level defenseman. Would be nice to have a second one of those on your blue line. I think Connor Bedard is going to be coming into his own. Maybe he has a Nathan McKinnon-like career arc. Wouldn't it be nice to have another one of those on your team? So I don't think this is is hockey, or is Canada no longer the hockey powerhouse, blah, blah. No, it's not that Canada's no longer a hockey powerhouse. It's just that there happens to be another one that's existing at the same time, and you're going to play close battles with them in 2030 and 2034 and 2038.
I have a question about that, if I may.
Sure.
I want to carry that a little bit, because it wasn't just one game for Canada, though. It was Finland. It was Czechia. Like, it was 3 straight games of battles for Canada. Like, I don't know if you can look at it and be like, again, not a roster thing, but Canada did not dominate like everyone thought they would have. Can you
Johnny,
imagine?
they outshot those teams. If you combine these last 3 games, what are the shots? 120 to 40? Like, they dominated them. I don't know
But
how you can't say that.
you need scorers. They had they had that top line together, and McDavid, McKinnon, Celebrini, and it felt like every other line had a hard time generating, and those are still some of the best players in the world. So I mean, again, like I'm just trying to lean into the Canada loser talk here, I guess. But it was I'm not even trying to talk shit. Yeah, I'm not even trying to talk shit. It didn't feel as dominant of a Canada performance throughout the tournament as I and most people would have anticipated.
I think part of it too. Sorry, Jeff, I'm going to run back with this,
Yeah,
but like,
go.
you watch that Czechia game and you watch that Finland game. I made the joke that when they like take kindergartners out on walks, they make them all hold a rope so they stay in a line. That was how Czechia and Finland defended. They all held the rope and just moved like a 5-man unit. Protect the front of the net. Don't give Canada anything. Hold on for as long as you possibly can. And like, you're right. They were a whisker away from losing to Czechia, and they almost lost to Finland as well. I get what you're saying. I just think these tournaments are also always very close. You're going to get Czechia's best punch. You're going to get Finland's best punch. And those two teams were playing that game to either try to win it 2-1 or lose it 1-0. And I just think that's a factor in it too. Like, I don't look at those and go, it's low scoring, like, because Canada can't get anything going. When you're putting up 40 shots on goal, like, you're eventually going to find the back of the net and win those games.
Mm-hmm.
So for the longest time here, I've been watching international hockey. My first big tournament was '76 Canada Cup, and even it's funny too because I went back and watched that a couple of years ago. USA almost beat Team Canada in the round robin. That was a really good game. It's like Mike Milbury's on that team, and Robbie Fatorik and some of these older school guys. Like, they were close, but I mean, I've sort of watched all of this, like the rise of USA hockey. And there was that big crescendo, of course, in 1980. There have been flare-ups, 96. We think about specifically 4 Nations last year where USA was, a shot away from winning the whole thing. One of the things that I've always wondered about is what's the next cascading moment? Like 1980 was a huge cascading moment because that win generated, the next generation of Mike Modanos and Jeremy Roenick's and Chris Chelios and Kachuk and Kevin Stevens and like all of those guys. Were part of the emotional wave that was 1980. Johnny, you're there. You can speak with more authority than Tyler and I can. Is this going to be, it wasn't the underdog story, and I get it, but this is a huge moment for USA hockey. Is there going to be a massive cascading or a massive spike now for hockey in the United States?
Listen, I know this audience is largely Canadian, and I do not want this to be a comparison. I'm prefacing that right now. But I interviewed, funny enough, I interviewed Wyatt Cullen earlier this week, the younger son of Matt Cullen, former NHLer, who plays for the NTDP U18s. And I asked him who his favorite player is, who his favorite guy to watch is. Do you know the name he said? Jack Hughes. So for the younger generation of American players who look up to Jack Hughes, similar to how our generation looked up to Sidney Crosby, whether you were American or Canadian, Sidney Crosby was the best in the game. I am not implying that Jack Hughes is the best in the game, but for the American kids and the younger kids coming up now in American hockey, Jack Hughes is that guy for them, or one of those guys. I'm not saying he's the only guy. There still is Eichel, there still is Matthews and Quinn Hughes and all these talented guys, but Jack is on that level for, the 18-year-olds all the way down to the 12-year-olds. So for Jack to have this moment for a whole era of kids who already idolize him, this is huge. If you were to pick one goal scorer to have this moment, I think most would probably have picked Matthews or let's say Eichel. But with it being Jack Hughes, I think it's still very powerful to the on-ice swagger, that American attitude, like the I don't give a shit, I'm going to do it my way kind of thing. And Jack is for sure more of a team player than I just I guess portrayed in that last sentence, but I don't know. I think it's going to do a lot for American hockey just because of who Jack Hughes is, how he kind of marches to the beat of his own drum, and how many young kids look up to him. Just like I looked up to Patty Kane, similar play style.
Yeah. It's fascinating too, and coming out of team tournaments like this, we tend to focus on individual players and what a tournament like this is going to mean for them. And I think you articulated well, Johnny, like what this is going to mean for Jack Hughes. re-inspired going back to New Jersey. I know there was a criticism on Tri-State. Rupper was real strong about how, it's, here's Brad Marchand playing with the Florida Panthers, and here's Jack Hughes saying, yeah, my paw's not good, and maybe I should take a couple of games here. But here's one player that I think we all wonder about, and it's hard not to. And he had a chance to end it in overtime as well, and that's Connor McDavid. In the Players Tribune piece, he talked about winning again and feeling it, and that's it. Like, this is the only thing that fuels him. This one is like, that room feels devastated. If you look at the silver medal lineup for these guys, I don't know it's the level of like Elias Anderson throwing his medal up into the stands in Buffalo, but that medal, when it hit their chest, burned. Right? Like, that burned. I'm curious what happens with Connor McDavid now after something like that, where Jack Hughes scores, it's after a McDavid rush, and he's still on the ice. Tyler, what do you think? You're there. You're in Edmonton.
Yeah, I mean, you walked around this bar before, and it was like not even a point to be like, what do you think happens in OT? Because everyone was saying the same thing, like, oh, it's going to be Connor McDavid, right? Like Sid did it in 2010. It's going to be Connor. It has to be Connor. And I think the view I kind of have on this is, man, he's 29 years old, and he wrote that Players Tribune piece about, like, he hasn't won in a really, really, really long time. And Four Nations, yes, that was great, but that's not the same as an Olympic gold medal. He doesn't have a Four Nations plaque hanging up on his wall anywhere in his house. Like, he's 29 years old. He'll get another crack at this when he's 33. He'll probably get another one when he's 37. But this is one of the 3 chances that Connor McDavid will likely have in his career to win an Olympic gold medal, and it went away. And now it's back-to-back Cup finals. It's, if we go 2 Stanley Cup finals in this one, he's won a Conn Smythe and now an MVP at the Olympics. He was named to the All-Star team. He was named best forward. He was named most valuable player.
Yeah.
Man, he doesn't have any actual hardware to show for it. He probably doesn't think at all about the Conn Smythe that he won in 2024. He's probably going to bury this silver medal in a safe in his basement and never touch it again. And I don't think, again, he's going to have a plaque up celebrating the fact that he was the MVP of this tournament. It's unfair because it's a team game. And if Nathan McKinnon scores an empty netter, or if Connor Hellebuck doesn't stand on his head, Connor McDavid's got himself a gold medal right now. So it's unfair to put this kind of stuff on a guy like that. But at some point, these are legacy-defining moments for McDavid, and his legacy is being defined in what he would say is the wrong way.
What do you think, Johnny?
Oh, man, I mean, like, part of me wants to troll.
Let me frame it this way. Yeah. Jack Eichel has a Stanley Cup and a gold medal. Your thoughts on Connor McDavid?
If I'm being a troll, Connor McDavid can't win the big one. Can't win the big one. That's what it comes down to. I don't know. Listen, I have no words. He's the best player in our game by a landslide. But
here's the thing. Okay,
I feel for him. I feel for him.
Hang on.
I don't know what to say.
Even just hearing your reaction too, like as an American as well.
Yeah.
Like where Tyler is, like, man, that burns. That burns in that marketplace in Edmonton. But are we at the point? And I'm sure if you ask Connor McDavid, he'll say, like, I don't want sympathy from anybody. I don't want pity from anybody. That's not. But it's getting real tough not to feel bad for Connor McDavid, to be right there, and not be able to get it over the finish line, both in the NHL and the Olympics as well. Four Nations, obviously, what a huge moment for him. But, like, are we at the point now where it's like, man, I'm starting to really feel bad for Connor McDavid?
Well, and like, it's not on him. Again, he has a Conn Smythe now and an Olympic MVP.
Of course.
And he doesn't care.
Ask him, though.
That.
He'll trade all of it in. All of it.
And what's frustrating and what feeds into the Connor McDavid can't win the big one narrative is you stare down at Game 7 in 2024. He has a look in the slot, can't score it. They hit a post on. Like, there are moments where Connor McDavid is in frame with a chance to put puck in net and force overtime against the Florida Panthers. He doesn't score. The only goal that game goes to Matthias Janmark. You look at tonight, Connor McDavid wasn't on the score sheet in this hockey game, was he? It was Cale Makar from Devon Taves and maybe Nick Suzuki got the secondaries. Like, we'll have the image, though, of Connor McDavid getting to Connor Hellebuck's pads on a clean cut breakaway. We'll have the memories of a 93-second 5-on-3 that Canada did nothing with. A power play late where they kept in pucks and looked like they were going to get chance after chance and just didn't materialize. We'll have overtime taking on a 1-on-3 rush to try be the hero. Like, what feeds into the trolls, if you want to call them that, and the people who want to be McDavid detractors, is that in 2 of these 3 legacy-defining games, Game 7 and a gold medal final in Milan, we have images of him having clear-cut opportunities to score. And again, 4 nations. That's a feather in his cap, but it's not a ring on his finger or a gold medal around his neck.
Yeah. Okay, here's another name. While we're playing this throwing out names game for individual players, we talked about Jack Hughes. We've talked about Connor McDavid. Let me throw another one out, and this has always been a hot-button name considering the market where he plays in the NHL. How do we all feel about Austin Matthews right now, who defensively was...
He was great.
I used to always say that Barkov is finished for Bergeron. What are we saying for Matthews?
I mean, that one play he had in the first period where he didn't shoot that puck, I was going nuts. Other than that,
everybody.
yeah. Other than that, though, to your point, Jeff, like, it did become a thing last year where, Austin Matthews was great defensively. He shut guys down, but he didn't score a goal in the entire 4 nations, and he's known as a goal scorer. In this game, you definitely understand that he was playing in that shutdown role, and you weren't necessarily asking for him to score, knowing how loaded Canada was up front. So it was a little hard to be critical of his offense in the last few games. That said, that one opportunity we can think of, we can criticize, but we could put that behind us because he really didn't make many mistakes in that game. He was great defensively. He did break up a lot of plays, and we needed that. We needed that. Had this gone the other way, you could have flipped it and said Matthews in 3-on-3 in overtime, he couldn't be the guy again. It could have easily been that. But they won. He helped get them the win, and that's all that matters. That's all that matters.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Ty?
I mean, I think, again, Matthews, yes, he made some good defensive plays, all that. I still kind of look at that. Like, the defining moment for Matthews in this game was when he didn't shoot the puck. Like, that's a guy who I don't look at this. I'm not 10 years from now, I'm not going to look back on this game and be like, boy, was Matthews ever good defensively. I would remember this game if Austin Matthews scored a big goal. I think at the end of the day, as much as, you can do Bergeron and Barkov and the Selke-level centerman, Austin Matthews is a goal scorer first and foremost, and he should be remembered if he does or doesn't score a big goal for you. But I will say, Jeff, I think we can give some stick taps, and I think you guys kind of did it when my internet cut out there. But there was criticism for like the Trocheks and some of these defensive-minded players that they brought. Brock Nelson drew a penalty in the first period. That U.S. penalty, let's rank things on how important they were to the win. Connor Hellebuck, the U.S. penalty killers, and they got ripped for not taking Caulfield, not taking Robertson. I was vocal saying they should have taken Robertson. They took a bunch of penalty killers. What the hell are they doing? Well, the penalty kill was perfect.
And they didn't even need to dress Brock Faber, who's one of the best penalty-killing defensemen in the entire, or not Brock Faber, Jackson Lacombe, who's one of the best penalty-killing defensemen in the entire NHL. It is a fascinating result. It's a fascinating game, and there's the 60 minutes and there's the overtime, and it's like they are 2 separate games. And, many people are pointing out online the way that the U.S. was playing in the first 3 periods. And again, I say with the caveat, your goalie is part of the team. You should never be embarrassed to have a good goaltender. And USA had a great goaltender in this one. But it seemed like that was a recipe for failure. It wasn't the USA going for it and getting right on top of Canada and pushing. It was the United States trying to keep Canada from scoring and being really patient with their chances. Not unlike, in the Lou Lamoriello era, the team that Jack Hughes now plays for, the New Jersey Devils.
I'm still just like, you know what? I'm not gonna lie. It sucks to be sitting on a losing panel. I was just going nuts. You guys
look, dude. Okay, let me frame this. Let me frame another one for you then. Okay, so first of all, this is like major celebration time for the United States. Like this is awesome. Canada's had their day so many different times. I would make the joke, going into this tournament, unlike in the United States, we don't call it a miracle when we win a hockey game. Well, now the United States has won a hockey game, and we don't have to call it a miracle in an Olympic gold medal, moment. How do you feel about this team right now? Because listen, there have been some great U.S. teams that we've seen. Is this the best one you've ever seen?
So it's funny. I can go a couple different ways. I tweeted it last night. Tyler actually replied to it, and I said, this isn't miracle. This is the Buffalo Bills going into Arrowhead and taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, I know that's a crazy analogy to use on a hockey show, but if you look at sports and the Buffalo Bills, I feel like Bills fans, Tyler being one, and you can agree with me on this, Ty, like every year you kind of have the hope that this team, knowing they're good enough to compete with the best, can go in there and finally get it done. The U.S., we knew they were good enough to compete, but Canada is still the best, and you have to knock them off. And year after year, while you might beat them in the regular season, you might beat them in the game that doesn't matter. In the moments that matter, you always come up short. But you have the Josh Allen. You have the guys who are good enough to do it with the Mahomes, like a Crosby, like a McDavid, the best of the best. But there's always heartbreak. And you just need that one moment, that one time. So, you know what? Speaking of miracle, if you play them 10, they might win 9, but not this one. And that's the beauty of the one-of-one game. Mm-hmm. And if the U.S. and Canada had met in a preliminary round, maybe the U.S. wins that one and Canada wins the gold medal like we've seen throughout history. But this was one game. They needed one extra save. They needed one extra goal, and they did it. And I think for the first time in a long time, a lot of people came in today with the actual belief that the U.S. could win. I believed that the U.S. could win. Did I think it would happen? I wasn't confident, but I believed they could. I knew Canada was better, but I believed they could. Okay. And that for me has been just, years and years and years of USA hockey getting better and better and better.
So here's why I think this is so important. I'm really glad you got us there, Johnny. That's a really important point, and I want to park there for a second. The one thing, and we've seen this, and again, the demarcation point for USA hockey has always been 1980. So we'll use it to start there. Like I referenced 76 Canada Cup and et cetera, and Squaw Valley in 1960 is an accomplishment as well. But using 1980 as the benchmark here, I've always found, and maybe this tournament changes everything with double gold, I've always found that the U.S. team was always uncomfortable with the idea that they were good, that they needed to be the underdog. That's where USA hockey was always comfortable. Us against everybody else, they don't give us a chance. I talked to Brian Burke about 2010, and the first thing he always says was, we're predicted to finish 7th. But USA has always had that mentality of, we're the underdog. That's where they're comfortable. And are you ever going to achieve consistent greatness if that's how you think about yourself? The answer to that is no. That's why I wonder if this tournament can be the turning point for USA hockey, where finally they don't have to try to sell to themselves that we're the underdog, and they have to get comfortable with they can win. We see it at the juniors all the time.
Yeah.
All those kids believe they can win that tournament. And you get to Olympics, and then you get to Four Nations, and you get to World Champions, and they're only comfortable considering themselves underdogs. Do you think this tournament goes a ways in changing that in the mentality? And we saw this on the women's side too. 2002, they're the better team, USA. Sochi, USA is the better team, and both on the women's side, but they don't win. Mm-hmm. Canada does. Do you think this starts to shift that mentality of we're the underdogs and that's where we're comfortable, getting now to we're favorites and we're comfortable there too? Because USA, I've always found, has fallen down in that mental side of things.
I'm not sure this team particularly will ever be favorites. I still think Canada has the top end talent, right? They have 4 of the 5 best players in the game, and it's hard to kind of twist that and say the U.S. will be favorites. But what I will say, Jeff, is so for a backstory, right now I'm in my best friend from childhood growing up, little brother's room. I slept over at their house last night. I watched this game with my best friend and his 2 little brothers, just the 4 of us. And literally, and they're also huge Devils fans, so they were going nuts for Jack. Jack Hughes is their guy. Sure. But after we celebrated, jumped, went crazy, we kind of paused, and I was like, we've literally never seen this before. I've never seen USA men's hockey win a gold medal in my life. You guys have seen it. Tyler, you've seen it twice at least, a couple times. This is something that we have literally never seen. So this now starts the belief. How could you believe something that you've never seen before? So yeah. I think to your point and to the question, there was never really a reason to think that it belonged to us because we had never had it. And now that you get a taste of it, you do kind of feel like you are good enough. And, I think saying the favorite is still a stretch, but like saying it's a coin toss is more of a fair comment, I would say.
Tyler, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I felt like it was a coin toss sort of this whole time. Like I looked at all those models and Dom and Jay Fresh and all the people who do the great analytics work. And they were all like 51-49, 52-48. Yep. And like going into this game, right before puck drop, they showed camera pans to Connor Hellebuck, camera pans to Connor McDavid. And I was like, oh man, if you're Johnny Lazarus sitting on your couch right now, that's the guy you don't want to see smiling at the end of this game. You don't want Connor McDavid. Like you're the most scared of Connor McDavid taking over this game and winning it for Canada. And if you were the people sitting here in the bar, you saw that flash of Connor Hellebuck looking zeroed in before puck drop, and you're like, well, if anyone's going to ruin my Sunday morning, it is probably that guy. But again, it is like a deserved win is kind of what I was getting at the beginning of this point. No one's sitting here with their jaws on the floors being like, what did we just watch? Like, no, we saw that game play out and the U.S. play to their strengths. And one big strength was Hellebuck. Like, they're going to be right there. 2030, they're going to be right there. I guess 2028 when we get a World Cup of hockey, they'll be right there. But that is, Jeff, I'll ask you about that kind of part of it, like looking forward, because it feels like now we're going to get a rhythm of every 2 years, a World Cup Olympics, however the NHL decides to do it. Do they start to mean less as we go forward and get them more frequently? Like, does this one mean more because just we haven't gotten this in so long?
It's a great question. My instinct is no, because the quality of hockey is so good. And it's not like, winter classics that got watered down by doing them every year and then adding stadium series. And now the sort of novelty of it is washed. I don't think NHL fans, I shouldn't say that. I don't think hockey fans will ever get tired of seeing competition like this. Now, can you shave off some of the teams? Yeah, probably. Were there a couple of, empty calorie games in tournaments like this? Was the first week kind of meh? Yeah, of course it is. I've wondered, I'll tell you, Tyler and Johnny, I'm curious your thoughts on this one as well. I've wondered about just following the programming philosophy of give people what they want. I wonder if we just do Summit Series and just do Canada versus USA and do it as maybe a to a season somewhere down the road. Like, essentially, we talked about this leading up to the Olympics. Canada versus US. On the women's side, it's always existed there. And now this is the rivalry on the men's side. Is there not of, much like we saw in 1872, albeit the circumstances were different, but is it time that hockey looked at just saying, this is what people want? With all due respect, Sweden, Finland, everyone, love you, you're beautiful. But this is what people want. People want of 7 series between Canada and the USA, or as they did in the Summit Series in 72, an 8-game series, like however you want to do it. Are we at the point now? Because to answer your question, Tyler, every 2 years, if the play's like this, no chance. And this is the way it's going to be. Like, this was, as far as quality of hockey goes, and it was quite emotional too as well. Like, we have to throw that in too. Like, it's as close to a perfect hockey game as we've seen. There was controversy, there was outrage, there was skill, there was saves, there were moments to hang on to forever, there were big plays by big superstars, there was unsung guys that were, jumping up and doing their thing. Like, as close to this being a perfect hockey game, this was it. This was a fantastic game, both how it was played and how emotionally it tugged at your heartstrings. So I don't think fans will ever get sick of that. So I don't think it gets watered down at all. I'm actually the opposite on this one, Tyler. Johnny, what do you think? I think we should just say, look, fans want Canada, USA. Let's just come up with tournaments that'll put these teams together.
I don't agree, to be honest. And it's rare that I feel like I firmly disagree with you guys. But in this one, it's like we'll always find some way to have something get old, right? I think with the playoff format a few years ago, it was like more rivalries in the first round. Now we're all sick of it, right? Like, it's too much. It takes away from these rivalries, I think. And part of what makes this special is the chance that they actually play against each other in the final. It's meeting there. It's the lead up. Like me watching Canada have to sweat it out against Czechia, sweat it out against Finland. That was almost just as fun for me as watching this game today. Granted, I have no dog in that fight, but I enjoyed the storyline of leading into the matchup and how they got here and the fun in that and the fun of it being a one game winner take all. Like that's what makes the Super Bowl what it is, right? Like this is always hockey's Super Bowl. It's that one game. And if you turn it into a best of 7, it's like, yeah, it's still entertaining the entire time. Don't get me wrong. Everyone would love it, but it removes the trash talk. You know, now it's like we get to talk shit for 4 more years. You know, it removes that. It does. And listen, while you guys had the year of the 4 nations trash talk, that is now gone. It is for a little bit. If we're doing that like year after year after year, it's just I don't know. It's something different about the international stage where the NHL let the fans of the regional cities talk shit every year if your team wins a playoff round, a Stanley Cup, but international should be a totally separate thing, and I love that. I mean, again, I'm on the right side of it today, so maybe that's where my brain is. But I don't know, Tyler, what do you think?
I get what you're saying, but I'm with sorry, I get what you're saying, Jeff. I'm with Johnny on this. I like this format and keeping more teams involved because it just feels like you got to earn this matchup. You got to earn your treat. And tonight was such a treat. If I try to remove my Canadian pride and just look at this as an agnostic hockey fan.
You're saying tonight, Tyler, it's 8 a.m. where you are.
Yeah, Johnny, 3 hours and number of beers has outweighed hours of sleep in the last 15 hours of my life. But we earned it a little bit, right? We didn't just get dropped into this great matchup. Like to me, that almost, and it wouldn't. We'd get into it and be so emotional, but it would feel a little bit too manufactured. Whereas this, we had to earn getting this matchup, and we all kind of felt like it was coming in that. But you had your scares. You had 3 overtimes that these 2 teams combined had to face. We had to earn this a little bit as hockey fans, and I like having that still.
But let's be 4 nations. With all due respect, Sweden and Finland were there just to sort of add a modicum of, okay, we want a little bit of a check here, but really what we want is Canada, USA. It was almost the NHL trying to say yeah, you know what, we want this to be Canada, USA in the final because that's what everybody wants, but we need to sort of somehow make it quasi look legitimate, so we're going to have 2 other teams as well at the same time. I don't know. I'm just a big supporter of give the people what they want. And right now there is an insatiable appetite for Canada versus USA, not unlike for decades upon decades after 1972. And Tyler, you know this. We saw this in the NHL when the Soviet would come and tour, like the club teams. Dynamo would come in, and Red Army, all of them would come in. The Moscow Wings would come in. We saw the WHA, who had their showdown in '74 as well, all the way through the '80s. There used to be that appetite for Canada versus Russia. Now international hockey is all North American bound. And it is Canada versus the United States. Why not just give it to them?
Can I throw you this? I mean,
yeah,
I'm not turning this into, this ain't Fox or whatever, or CNN. What if in 2 to 4 years Russia's allowed back? Does your opinion on that change?
Then it does. Yes, absolutely. I'm just dealing sort of with the political reality of Russia and Belarus not being able to compete at these events as well. I do think that, and hopefully soon, because it means that hostilities between Russia and Ukraine will have calmed down and ended. When Russia is reintroduced into international hockey, and we saw Tardif talking about this, and the sort of IOC is sort of wink this way anyhow, as they have in the past. It's probably going to happen at some point here. I think that the quote unquote Russian revenge tour is going to be interesting. The international revenge tour of Russia is going to be a fascinating one to watch. But until then, all I can play is the cards that I've been dealt. And right now, the 2 best cards, USA and Canada.
Both of you, well said. Well said.
Yep.
All right, then. So, celebration time now for the United States. This is a crowning achievement. Double gold is one of the most unique things you can pull off. I know we all try to be objective and sit on the fence about a lot of things here, but I am really curious. Listen, half my family's American. I'm gonna make a lot of phone calls all over the place, so Chicago and to Livonia today and various Massachusetts. But as an American, like, how did you feel watching that? That should have been the first question I asked you, Johnny.
Well, the third period felt like overtime itself, right? You kind of knew like the next goal wins. It was nerve-wracking the entire time. I thought the beginning, like from the very first shift, the first shift of the game, the U.S. was firing. Eichel has that prime chance in the slot, misses the net. I know Boldy's technically the first shot on goal that they had in the game, but from the jump, it looked like the U.S. had a pop in their step. And then after the 5-on-3, it really got nerve-wracking. Usually when you kill a 5-on-3, it's like, okay, now the tide will turn in our favor. But it felt like Canada started to press more and more and more after the 5-on-3, and that's when the U.S. was on their heels. I kind of remember, I think Edzo said shots were like 23-9 in favor of Canada from the 5-on-3 to a certain point of the third period. And, I know from your end, we were all sitting there just waiting for Canada to get that second goal. Like we kind of had a feeling that it was going to come, just like we had a feeling that, they were going to break through to tie the game, and Makar does. But
Hellebuck, the one thing we failed to consider here is Hellebuck has some of the best posts in the NHL.
Well, Faber hits that double post too.
Binnington had some good posts today too. Oh, yeah. Don't worry. Faber could have scored the second there too.
How about Charlie McAvoy behind Connor Hellebuck, keeping that one off the goal line? That's another one where, like, if Hellebuck isn't making the paddle save, it's that McAvoy scrunched up, taking it with his body. Like, that's the moment we'd remember.
When you were gone, Ty, we did like who's your unsung hero, and that was the play that I referred to. Charlie was a beast the whole time. But again, like that's a significant. Was that McKinnon too? I think that shoveled it.
I don't know who
either McKinnon or Celebrini.
It was a right-handed shot.
Front.
Yeah. But again, like for me, it was nerve-wracking the whole time. I thought it was going to end in heartbreak again. Like I really did not believe whatsoever with 10 minutes remaining in the third. Once it got to 3-on-3, it was like, okay, different game. But then you see McKinnon, McDavid, and Makar line up, and it's like we're doomed. But I do think, and you guys can kind of talk to it more, like in the 3-on-3, it did feel like the Canadian guys all wanted to be the hero,
Yeah. Well, listen, I mean, let me pause on this one here too, because as Canadians, what do we focus on in the big international wins? 1972, what are we all talking about? Paul Henderson. Paul Henderson. Now, Paul Henderson in the NHL had a very pedestrian career. Not Hall of Fame worthy, but had like 3 of the best games of his life, and that propelled Canada to that victory. But it's about Paul Henderson, 1972. Okay, bank that. 1987, who's it all about? Mario Lemieux. Mario Lemieux. 2002, things are a little bit different, and that became more of a team effort, but still a lot of it is Joe Sakic. And then we get to Vancouver in 2010, it's Sidney Crosby. In this country, we put so much of a premium on who's going to be the hero, who's going to be the guy, that I do wonder, like, as a country in a team sport, when it comes to these big events, we always wonder who's going to distinguish themselves from the pack and pull themselves away from the pack to win the game. You guys know, in a team sport, that doesn't always work. You have to sort of let that come to you. Like, I don't think anyone's going to think that, Jack Eichel forced that goal. But you could say that Connor McDavid tried to force one a couple of seconds before. Right? You know what I mean? Like that.
Oh, yeah.
The play came to him. That moment came to him. He didn't force that moment. Now, you can say it makes it, less extravagant. I just think that that's Jack Hughes playing the game that was there in front of him and not trying to force something that wasn't there. Canada really, now, the more aggressive team, Canada forced a lot of things. Probably should have scored another goal in that third period, but Jack Hughes ends up the star, but it isn't as if he forced it. You know what I mean? Like we focus so much on individuals in Canada. Essentially, what I'm getting at. Does that make sense?
I think it's bang on. Yeah, totally. And Johnny kind of nailed it too. It's that U.S. had the bit more of a team approach, and it gave them. They had they had the 2 best chances of overtime. Like Quinn Hughes very easily. Jordan Hawkins' glove flopped over. Like great save, but like that thing's a hair away from being in the back of the net too. So it's hard. Again, as a Canadian, you can do the no Crosby 3-on-3. Don't like this, don't like that. Oh, maybe they should play best of 7. How about this? Best on best in the last calendar year. USA has won 2 of the 3 games. They won the round robin game at 4 Nations too. Like, again, it's so heartbreaking for me as a Canadian, and like it sucks. And I wanted the moment and the golden goal, and I feel for McDavid and all of that. But, like, again, pure hockey fandom in me. Tip your cap, man. Connor Hellebuyck and that U.S. team is fully deserving of a gold medal.
Johnny? Chef's kiss. Chef's kiss for that one. Okay, one thing I wanted to ask you guys. Let me close on this. So one player from the United States and one player from Canada, who, when I looked at them through the entire tournament, and this is an NHL question, this is the way it felt to me. Did it feel like both Brad Marchand and Matthew Tkachuk were playing in the Olympics because both played real hard? Like that in their minds, they're thinking, this is the last hockey I'm going to play this season. We know where the Panthers are. We know both guys are dinged up. I would see this with Brad Marchand, and maybe I'm just sort of jumping ahead to something here, but would it surprise you at all if the Panthers shut both guys down?
I wouldn't be surprised if Marchand, again, maybe I wasn't watching Tkachuk closely enough. I watched the American games, but definitely not with the same eye. It felt like Marchand, and even after I got the TV on in front of me, when Marchand was getting his medal, there was a look in him that was just like, he looked the most dejected of the bunch, and that could just be how he looked. But that was, to me, Jeff, I thought of that and what you've been saying throughout the tournament. It's like, oh yeah, that felt like Brad Marchand knowing he's shutting her down here.
What do you think,
Ken? I didn't see that from Tkachuk, to be honest. I don't think the Panthers are a team that is like a shut it down team. I think if anything, they would maybe like let Tkachuk rest for a few weeks and whatnot, but I don't see them, they have this window, they've won back-to-back cups. I don't see them just like totally selling and tanking the rest of the season. I think they're a team that if they feel they get into the playoffs, anything could happen. I mean, it's also Bobrovsky's last year on his contract. Obviously they could sign him to, like a 2-year extension, but I don't know. I just think when you are a winner, you want to win. And I don't know if they have that, like, let's shut it down mentality. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Tkachuk, let's say, takes the next 3 weeks off, but I don't see it being like a season thing. Because, he missed time at 4 Nations last year, but he was hurt. Yeah. He didn't even play in the end of that game. He didn't really look hurt. Yeah, he didn't really look hurt in this game. So, yeah, I don't see that for Tkachuk. Marchand, different story because he was hurt coming into the tournament. But yeah, I don't know if I see that for Tkachuk.
We head into the NHL season next, and I do wonder, like, for some teams, we made a lot about Kevin Fiala and that situation. We wonder about Josh Morrissey with the Winnipeg Jets here now too. He didn't play after that that first game where he had to leave. Who do you guys think this tournament helps most in the NHL? Like, are there a couple of players that you look at, you think, okay, you know what, wind in their sails? Wind in their sails now. They've had a great tournament, carry this over. I mean, I guess the obvious one is Connor Hellebuyck if you're a Winnipeg Jets fan, but I mean, the Jets are so far out of it right now. I don't know how much of it that might just be a Pyrrhic victory. Are there players in this tournament that we all saw that we went, you know what, this is really going to help him and by extension his team when we get back to NHL games?
I got one right off the top of my head. Unless all you, Ty. All you.
Okay, well, maybe we're going to say the same guy. Canada perspective, just the 2 names, Bo Horvat, Thomas Harley, thought they both flew under the radar, but had excellent tournaments. Harley, we noticed early on in the tournament, is like, whoa, this guy's got some jump. But I'll go outside of this game. If you're a Montreal Canadiens fan, do you not watch what Juraj Slavkovsky did again at another Olympics? And do you not sit there? And we've talked about how he is such a necessary piece of that lineup because he's so much different than Suzuki and Caulfield, and he's got the beef to kind of maybe power you in a playoff series. And if you're a Canadiens fan, you're sitting there going, man, we're hopefully going to have some long playoff runs in the next few years. And you now know in the back of your mind that Juraj Slavkovsky is not going to cower at any big moment.
For sure. I'm going outside this game as well, but I'll bring it inside this game too. And the guy that I loved watching was Marty Necas. I said this at our live show in New York City the other night. Like, I always knew Necas was like a good, solid player. I watched a number of New York Rangers versus Carolina Hurricanes playoff series where he was good, but he was not that game breaker, right? We always talk about Carolina missing the game breaker, and now he goes to Colorado. He's had a hell of a year, north of 20 goals, north of 60 points, but everyone's saying, yeah, he's a great player, but he's alongside McKinnon and Makar and on a loaded Colorado Avalanche team. In this tournament, he was dominant. He was by far Czechia's best player. He went up against a really good Canadian team, and he was the best player on the ice, I thought, in that entire game. Necas was the guy over Pasta. So for me, it does a lot for Necas. And then with this loss, the hunger of McKinnon and Makar and Taves coming back, look out for the Colorado Avalanche. I mean, they were already a wagon to begin with the whole regular season. You got to think their foot is going to be on the gas, hungry for a Stanley Cup this year after the disappointment of this tournament for all guys included. I don't know. Brock Nelson, I guess, would be the only one in the tournament coming away with a gold medal. I don't think we have another member of the Avalanche on our team. But yeah, Marty Necas was the guy for me who really took a step up from what I thought of him coming in.
If you're the St. Louis Blues right now, I'll just ask you bluntly. If you're the St. Louis Blues and you're Doug Armstrong right now, given how he played so well at the Olympics, are you looking to trade Jordan Binnington ASAP?
Sell high, Dougie. Sell high. Take those.
But that's it, right?
If you can get a first-round pick for a goalie with an 8-something in the NHL, you get it.
I agree.
What do you think, Johnny?
Fully agree. Couldn't agree more.
All right, then. All right, closing thoughts from everybody here. It's going to be a long day in Canada. It's going to be a long day in the United States as well, because the celebration is probably going to go deep into the night as well. Final thoughts on this tournament. Johnny, we'll start with you. When you look back on this one, certainly a success both at the men's and women's side of it, but as you exit these games back to the day-to-day grind of the National Hockey League, what are your takeaways from the tournament that you just saw?
So much better than I could have imagined. I thought the U.S. would steamroll their way through to the gold medal game. I thought Canada would steamroll their way through to the gold medal game. Sweden being the only threat. There were way more threats than just Sweden. Finland, Czechia, Slovakia all put up great fights. Even Italy, in certain moments, put up a great fight in that first game. So a lot outside of Canada and the U.S. to be excited about. Tyler, I think, made that point on our show last week, saying I think Colby was like, the games haven't been that good. And Tyler was like, well, games outside of Canada, US have been great. There was a couple of other matchups like Finland, Sweden, a great game.
Slovakia, Sweden was great.
Slovakia, Sweden, great game. So the hockey around the world is just in a great place. I guess that would be where I'd go. Yeah, there are some teams that don't have the skill of a US and Canada, but hockey's in a great spot right now globally, and that's awesome.
Yeah. Let me pick up one thing, Tyler, before I throw it over to you. I'm curious both of you guys' thoughts on this one. One of the things that we all grew up thinking, Stanley Cup is it. That's it. That's the pinnacle. That's top of the mountain for everybody. And that's certainly true if you're born in the United States, if you're born in Canada as well. One of the things that we forget is something changes with European hockey players. I know someone in the back is Robert Reichel. When European players put on the country's jersey, something happens. And it's not to discredit anything they do in the NHL, not to devalue the Stanley Cup, but Olympic gold is it for them, man. And playing for their country is it. Stanley Cup's awesome. I'm not going to say that it means more if you're North American, but something changes with European players when they play for their country, specifically when the tournament is being held in Europe. Do you guys see that as well?
Absolutely. I mean, it also illustrated just how little, there's obviously a gap between the best of the best in the NHL and the pro players everywhere else. But I think this tournament was a nice reminder of just how thin that gap is and the difference between a guy who can make an NHL roster and a guy who's, playing overseas somewhere in whatever league. That gap is thin. So, yeah, this tournament, man, I can't tell. Sorry, I can't tell if you guys are losing me right now. But my final thought will be the bar.
You're good.
Okay, the bar where it was set for me was maybe here. The hype outside is here. This tournament was up here. It was great. I mean, you go to those quarterfinal games, even the ones with Canada and USA, they were all awesome. It was a great display for the sport.
It was excellent. So final thought and takeaway from you, Tyler, then we'll find out what Johnny's going to do next and if he's going to show up for work tomorrow morning.
Yeah, the final thought for me is just that, again, this thing lived up to the hype. This game today lived up to the hype. Hopefully this can be, and we talked about this before, like, in Canada, the impact that the Vince Carter era had on the future of the sport. Like, Team USA obviously does it. This wasn't a miracle. This wasn't something that's, suddenly going to turn the hockey into a mainstream sport in the US. Like, it's clearly already there, but what kind of level can they take it to now? And what kind of level can even the NHL get to now? Like, I thought it was awesome how the first round of the playoffs last year was so good. Coming off Four Nations, there was a crazy trade deadline in the NHL and this awesome playoff. So, like, can we get another great playoffs year? There are going to be more new eyeballs on this sport. And can this upcoming spring live up to this kind of hype and kind of keep the snowball rolling down the hill?
All right, Johnny, what's next for you after you log off on our live stream? What are you going to do, and who are you doing it with?
I am going back to New York City so I don't get stuck in a snowstorm hitting this area. We are in a state of emergency here, so I'll be trapped in the apartment for the next few days. But Colby Cohen and I can promise you, will be the most insufferable people to listen to at 9 a.m. Eastern time across the world tomorrow. So if you are Canadian, I don't advise you to listen.
Great sell piece. I got Wyshynski on with me at 1 o'clock Eastern as well. So if you think you're going to be insufferable tomorrow, I will see that and raise you a Wyshynski from ESPN coming up at 1 o'clock Eastern. Johnny, thanks so much for being part of this.
Thank you,
you're the best man, and good to hear that the live event went so well yesterday. And congratulations to the United States, double gold. Looks great on the program. Congratulations to USA Hockey. Thanks, Johnny.
Love you guys. Thank you.
There he is, the great Johnny Lass. Tyler, a couple of moments here to sort of put a ribbon on this one. Two Canadians not getting what they wanted today. Didn't get it on the women's side, didn't get it on the men's side either, but nonetheless, like you just hope that things are interesting and the quality of play is great. Was not the outcome that Canadians wanted. It's going to be a very quiet day today. It's going to be a very quiet day tomorrow. It's going to be a very quiet plane ride home for a lot of the Canadian players as they get back to their NHL cities and try to get into the NHL rhythm of their lives here. We talked about Connor McDavid and what this means for him. Coming back, who else is this a really long flight for? I can't help but thinking about Jordan Binnington here, but your thoughts on who this flight's going to be long for?
I think Jordan Binnington at least holds his head high, maybe internally and metaphorically, on like he made big saves. He gave up a goal in the first period, then didn't give one up in the second, didn't give one up in the third. When the team needed him, he made stops, and he made one in overtime, right? Like, if he would have given up the first shot in overtime, there might have been a narrative of like, oh man, is Jordan Binnington there? There's Binnington coming through. An elite goalie gives you a shot. Yeah. Binnington gave him a shot. I think the flight home's long for Nate. I just think he battled through a lot. I think as we talked about Crosby injuries and other guys playing through stuff, the pale look on his face, the way he finished overtime against Czechia, I was like, man, there's a knee. There's probably an illness there with Nate McKinnon. So I think McKinnon, and you saw him after he was chewing on his mouth guard 30 minutes after the game ended, like he's gutted. And I think for Sidney Crosby, this is a long flight home. I mean, he's going to have another, hopefully, potentially a playoff push here with Pittsburgh, but that's got to suck, man, to be Sidney Crosby in what's likely your final Olympics and to be sitting, I don't know if he was up in the crowd or if he was sitting behind the scenes watching it on a monitor. Fuck, that sucks. No, you could have been the guy that made a difference.
Yeah, and he would have made the difference. He would have made a difference on some of those power plays, in that specifically that power play at the end of the third period. McDavid's or Crosby certainly makes a difference as well. I wonder about John Cooper. Like, I wonder about the coaching staff too. We focus on the players, and rightfully so. Those are the ones getting us. But John Cooper as well, who still to this day, which is mind-blowing, hasn't won the Jack Adams as Coach of the Year. He's won a couple of Stanley Cups. He's considered widely the best coach in the NHL. He's the longest tenured coach in the NHL, and here was a shot to bring home Olympic gold as well. Listen, he was one of the coaches of Team North America at the World Cup of Hockey that everybody fell in love with, and now essentially that was the team he was coaching today. I remember talking to him a couple of years after that tournament. He said, that's the best team that I've ever coached, and you're going to see that is the team that was going to feature prominently all over Team Canada and Team USA for the next 10 to 15 years. And essentially, like, when you look at it, when you pull out, like the Sidney Crosbys, Like, we're looking at Connor McDavid, and we're looking at Jack Eichel, and we're looking at Nathan McKinnon, and we're looking at Austin Matthews. What we saw in this final was Team North America. Like, I know it was the team that didn't win anything. I remember talking to Jack Eichel about this on a Zoom call for NHL.com during the pandemic, and he said to me, he said, "Why are we doing this? This team didn't do anything, but that team was the future of international hockey and the future of the NHL. We might not have realized it at the time, but John Cooper did, and that's the one thing I kept coming back to here. This is part of the leg Team North America." From the World Cup. And we saw all those guys that lit everybody on fire, that everyone fell in love with, and we wondered what would have happened if Team North America played Team Canada at the then Air Canada Centre in downtown Toronto, what the crowd would have done with that one. But did we or did we not just see the fumes of Team North America from the World Cup? That's the way it felt to me.
We did. We did, and I kind of remembering back to that team, it was like, oh my God, Kachuk, all these guys, like, damn, there's a wave coming. And as much as we did, like, I can't believe Connor McDavid's not playing for Team Canada, and I was very focused on that narrative. You look back and go, God damn, the USA didn't get to bring any of these guys onto their roster. Like, I mean, even going back then, that might have been their top 6. Like, it was crazy, and it shows again. If you're a Canadian hockey fan and you just think, we'll get them in 4 years. Whoa. There's a lot of guys that are still going to be in their primes when we meet again in 4 years.
Although Canada has a lot coming. Landon Dupont, I think everyone's going to start to know his name as well if you're worried about the blue line for Team Canada, and plenty of others. Maddox Schultz is going to come up in a couple of years here too. So other names that Canadians are going to get themselves well acquainted with as well. In the meantime, buddy, great stuff all through the Olympics. Fantastic analysis. Now we're back to the NHL. Do you have a quick thought here before we let you go? Oilers Nation every day. What happens with Edmonton as we come back and the trade freeze thaws out?
If a Tristan Jarry trade wasn't made a few months ago, we're probably doing a lot of, is Jordan Binnington on the plane with Connor McDavid coming back to Edmonton right now? Because I feel like that would have been the move that Stan Bowman would have liked to make. But yeah, I think, listen, they're going to add, and I think if you watch Connor McDavid and you see the heartbreak there, obviously for Stan Bowman, it's elation. He's on that USA staff. But if you're Bowman and you look down and you see that heartbreak on McDavid, how do you not just go, I got to give this guy everything he needs once again this year?
Yeah. Okay. And also, as we mentioned, March 6th, NHL trade deadline. We got you covered starting at 11 o'clock Eastern. That is March 6th. Our Daily Faceoff trade deadline coverage getting underway in the morning. I want to thank Bet365 for putting this all together for us. And thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you're an American listener / viewer, congratulations. If you're a Canadian viewer / listener, I can assure you the sun will come up tomorrow. And the one thing about silver medals is when you win them, you don't want them. But then with historical perspective, when the career is done, you look back and you realize what actually a silver medal actually means and what an achievement it is. Again, not the medal Canada wants. I understand that. But still, an achievement. And listen, international hockey burns in Canada versus the United States on both the men's and the women's side. Today was just another chapter in a rivalry that's long for year after year. And when we all shed the mortal coil, we'll all be thinking about some of the great games we saw between these two teams. This one may have been the best, so far. On behalf of our producer, Pat Puff, and Tyler E. Remchuk, Jeff Merrick signing off. Thanks for joining us on our gold medal recap show. Conduct yourselves accordingly. Drink to celebrate or a drink to commiserate. Your choice. Thanks for great hockey in Milan.